Well, I've been out for a bit of a run with my little SuperCub today, and a couple of months back during the winter I ordered myself some new front brake shoes, so I'm going to try them out and see what they're like. And also I need to double check the Speedo drive seems to have stopped playing. I don't know what's happened there, but anyway, I'll get this wheel off. So I need to take the spindle out and then drop the wheel out and then have a wee look-see, and then I'll have a look at the brake shoes and see if they are actually the right ones. So these are the brake shoes that I ordered. It's not a brand I'm familiar with. Probably some, well, they are some sort of Chinese brand, with looks like some sort of Spanish writing on it, but certainly nothing that I'm familiar with. Says Cross on there. Anyway, let's get this wheel off. I'll get a spanner, take the spindle out, drop the wheel out, and take it from there. So apart from undoing the spindle, and in my case that's a 17mm and it's a 15 on the other side, I have to undo the retainer screw for the Speedo cable, and then I'm going to have to undo the adjuster for the brake cam, and then take this out. Then it should be fairly free and clear to get the wheel out. Well, that's the spindle removed, so you've got the 17, the spacer which goes on this side, and the 15mm. So here's the this is one thing I would say about this SuperCub. The front brake performance is subpar, I think is the politically correct way of putting it, but as we would say here in Scotland, it's shite. It does work, but it's not like slamming on the anchors by any stretch of the imagination. And then the other thing that I've had an issue with is the Speedo drive. You'll see that if you look in there, that's going round. It kinda drives it, but I've had an issue with that for a long time. That was actually replaced last year. Looks like it's messed up already. So I'll see if it comes out. Yep, there it is. Yeah, it's chewed up. You see it? See on one edge? That's exactly what happened to the first one. Got chewed up. I'll need to replace that. Just pop it out. There's a little retainer in there. I need to put a flat bladed screwdriver and pop it out and have a look. I've actually got some other ones, got some spare replacements in a bag here, but I don't know why it's like that, but it's been problematic. So anyway, the next thing is to see if I have in fact got the correct brake shoes. So I'll remove the old ones first and do a side-by-side comparison. Well, there's the two side by side. These are not particularly worn or anything. There's definitely more meat on these. So we'll see if they fit. Well, I can definitely see an issue here. These original ones are narrower than those ones. So I'm going to have to buzz down or grind down a little bit each side of that shoe. So I'll take these shoes apart and these shoes apart and show the difference. Alright, so you can see the lower one is slightly narrower than this one. It's the replacement. So I'm going to have to wear it down a bit. Now let's see what the cam end looks like. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put that on here. So I put it edge to edge, so this one is thicker but it seems to fit okay. And then this one, it probably needs about 1 millimeter buzzed off each side, so yeah, it doesn't need that much of a trim, but it definitely needs trimmed down. So what does that look like on the brake? So we'll move that flat. So fits okay on the cam, that's not a problem. But if you look at this one, it's just a little bit too, it's almost there, but it's not quite right. So I need to trim, buzz off a bit, file off a bit from these edges. It should fit okay. Right, so I've replaced this Speedo drive. That was the old one that was worn on the edge. The reason that's happening is that the pinion gear, the worm type one there, see that gap? That's as far as it's going to come out. That gets retained by a little sort of top hat shaped bush. But I've got a plastic one in there at the moment, which I don't think is the right one. It should be a metal one. But it looks like it's turning the drive okay. You'll see it there. I'll put a little bit more grease and stuff on it, and then I'll fit the shoes. So that's a bit of fiddling about. I'm going to see about getting some more spares of these, because as I say, I've had 2 that have worn out and the bike's only got, I think, 3,000 miles or something on it. But I need to figure out what the best solution for that is. Hence why I had at one point, I had one of these bicycle Speedos. So anyway, I've ground down these, so these should fit now. I've got the new springs, and I'll grease everything up and see if it all fits back together. Well, I had to swap phones. My battery ran out. So that's the drive fitted. That's the new replacement shoes fitted. They're fitting in there okay now, or it appears to be. So let's just make sure that they fit. Ooh. Looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit further modification. I think they're actually still a bit too proud. So I think I have to bring that gap closer. Well, don't bother messing about with a Dremel, just get yourself a grinder and it makes very short work of it. So I've put it all back together. I'll maybe put another touch in here, but I'm going to check and see if it fits first. Yep, that goes in, no problem at all. So, I'm going to put a little bit more grease onto the pinion gear, and I'll just make sure this, I think it's fine. You can see that fits in there, no problem now. Fair bit of a chamfer off there. Now, I don't know if this is the factory method, but what I do is, because it's a cable that kind of shape, and you've got one of these that fits into it, what I do is I take this brake plate and I turn it until it slips onto the cable and lines up with the end that fits securely on that, and then I've put the little Phillips screw in. So now it's a case of putting it back together. I'll take all the stuff off for the front brake. I mean, you can put these wherever you like, but if they're on the end of the cable, they're not going to go very far, just like the spindle. Well, that's that all back together. So, don't forget to tighten that up to retain the Speedo cable. Adjust this to the point where you've got least resistance, but the brake pedal feels, brake lever feels okay. And then you can just adjust it as and where you feel necessary. The 15 mils bolted up. Sorry, this is a 15. This is a 17 in my case. So that's it. So I'll probably take it for a little spin to see if the brakes feel improved, and to double check that the Speedo is now working. But hopefully everything's okay. Well, it's now Tuesday afternoon. I've been out for another wee run on the bike. The Speedo was working and it stopped. I think it's to do with the bushing, because it's not the correct bushing for this. So there's a bushing that sits in here. I'll put a picture of it next so you see what we're talking about. When I first had the problem with the worn pinion, that's the worm shaped one, or the straight gear, helicoil style, it was all chewed up, and when I knocked it out I didn't realise that there was a bushing held in here. So when I knocked it out, it pinged off somewhere into the wilderness, and then by the time I actually got another pinion gear set, or Speedo gear set, I'd totally forgotten about the bushing. So at the moment, or for the past year, it's had, I think it was a Honda Dream, I'll put a link to it and a picture of it as well, to perform the Speedo function, but in the meantime I used the bicycle digital Speedo. So I'm going to have to get another one. So if anybody knows where I can get the appropriate Speedo gear set for this, I'll be happy to hear. And if you know where I can get the bushing, that'd be brilliant, because the pinion gear and the Speedo gear, they're really easy to source. They're very cheap from China, but the actual metal bushing to retain the pinion, that doesn't seem to be available anywhere. And I even contacted the manufacturer and they just didn't know anything about it. And it's also not shown on any schematics, you know, showing you the parts diagram or whatever you call it. So what's the summary? So the summary is the Speedo was working and now it's stopped. So I guess the pinions moved slightly out of sync with the Speedo gear. The brake is working. It's not night and day, it's very minimal performance. It does lift up the front end with the lead and link suspension. So I've not improved the braking at all. I think until those shoes are fully bedded in, I don't think it's going to be an improvement whatsoever. It's actually, I think, worse. But I'll be having the bike out hopefully several times this week and next week if the weather stays fair. Hopefully they bed in. But if anybody else with a SuperCub has found a way to improve the front end braking performance, I would be very happy to hear what they did. I did put a post on one of the Facebook pages, and somebody said just cut grooves in the shoes. So I can quite happily do that with a new set, see if it makes any difference, but I just don't think there's enough force. I think these cables, I think they're a bit too springy. But it's maybe just the braking performance is shite, full stop. I do tend to use the back brake more on this bike because just using the front brake's pretty miserable. But saying that, the speed the thing goes at and how I ride it, it's not an issue, it's not a problem. So anyway, there you have it. So, overall summary, well, a bit of a failure overall, but the shoes I put in here, I think were from a CH250 Honda Spacey. But again, I'll link them. I got them on AliExpress. I'll link them if anybody needs to change the front brake shoes on SuperCub. Cheers for now, and if you feel like it, please feel free to like and subscribe.